This week on the Greatest podcast, where we believe that not only are we created to create, but also created to connect. We bring you a voice that echoes from the heart of Nanaimo, a relentless spirit whose grind knows no bounds. In an episode we proudly title Grind Ever Eternal, we dive deep with Mans, exploring the passion, the dedication, the eternal grind that fuels his every move. From sound and feel that transcends borders to a work ethic that defies the odds, Mans embodies the spirit of Grind Ever Eternal. Join us, connect, create, and be inspired only on the Greatest podcast. Here's what's funny. So we've interacted in the past for a few times, I should say. Maybe I can remember 3 times that we've talked, right? But for some reason, I just feel like I still don't remember exactly what is your name. Because when I look at your Instagram, all I see is Grind Ever Eternal. Is that your name or what?
No, I wish, but not really. But my name is Manshinkosi Chikawa in Zimbabwe, kind of sound and feel. And I go by Mans.
Mans. But I remember when I first met you, I called you Manja. Is that your name too?
Yeah, even that's like the third name.
Oh, that's the third name. And Manja means what? What does Manja mean?
It means God's power.
Means power, God's power, right?
Mm.
And so I believe this episode is going to be Manjafu. It's going to be powerful.
I already know.
Right?
It should be.
Yeah, it's going to be powerful. So the reason, of course, I invited you on this podcast episode is because you are a creator, right? So can you tell us a bit about yourself in terms of how did your creative career begin, or how did you get into creating, and what is it exactly that you create?
It all started in grade 8, right? We had to take certain courses, and art was one, and I did like pretty good, like B+. But then I got more into basketball, then realized after high school what my strengths were. And most of my strengths, or even the pure one, is creativity. Like I've done music, I've done production. Okay. Now I'm making clothes for Grind Ever Eternal as a creative director and owner. So creativity has always been my lane. And when I pray and I'm like, Lord, what is my skill set? Boom, creativity.
Creativity. I love that. I am an advocate. That's what I was looking for. I'm an advocate for creativity, and I believe we're all created to create. And each one of us, those of you watching, we're all created to create. And we have that within us. And so I'm really glad to be talking to you about your creative journey and your creative career. But I'm just curious. Yeah. And you said you are now the director of Grind Ever Eternal?
Yeah. A startup brand. Yeah.
So that tells a bit about that brand. Like for me, what I want to know is what's one thing that your brand did that you didn't expect? Something that surprised you.
I'd say just make one sale. Like I didn't really go into it thinking that be as not lucrative, but more or less wanted as it was. And I made 1 sale, 2 sales, 3 sales, and just building up, just the progress really spread. Yeah. And the more you put at something, the more you get out. So progress, like that's really surprising to me.
But I'm curious, why would that surprise you? Isn't that the anticipation for any business?
The time frame, because as soon as I put it out, I got some people to model in it, showed some people, some family bought it, some friends, and currently sending to just models around the world. Like one person from LA who skates a lot, knows a lot of big people. It's on the Grind Ever Eternal page, and some person in Atlanta.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a bit about the process of your business. What exactly are you selling? Are you selling design clothes or?
Yeah, good question. Selling clothing, just as pure as it is, whether it's t-shirts, hats like this, Grind Ever hat on right now.
Cool.
Just anything that I can slap apparel on. And the process is usually within Adobe Illustrator or Inkscape, however I'm feeling.
Cool.
And I just design, get stocked up, then put drops at certain times. And a lot of it's just mainly designing. But yeah.
That's amazing. And now I feel like I should be part of the Grind Ever Eternal family. So how do I get
How do I get myself the grind ever eternal hat?
Oh, to buy one, I have a Capstrap page and the site is in the midst of being made. But even if you throw a DM at this point, like I'll probably see it and we can work out a deal.
Okay. So you can ship anywhere in Canada or US?
Yeah, Canada or US, and depending on international.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking about international, I saw on your page you have a project in Uganda.
Yes.
What is that about?
Big. Oh man, the Uganda skaters out there, they're so good and they just progress so fast. Even the sponsors, Thrasher follows them, Tony Hawk follows them on Instagram. Okay. And I've given them some clothes before and I always try to show love when I get a new job. So
how did you get in touch with the Uganda skaters?
Yeah, so the story was I just saw their page and I think someone either reposted them or I almost just forget. But then I was like, hey, maybe I can give some clothes to these people and give to a cause because they are great skaters and they're better than a lot of people I've seen. Better than me. So yeah.
Oh, because you do skating as well, right?
Yeah, just for fun. I'm not trying to go anywhere with it, but it's really good pastime and therapeutic.
Oh yeah. In what sense is it therapeutic?
You just go out.
I've never tried.
Oh, fair. You just go out, you grab your board, you can do it with people or without people, unlike other sports.
Okay.
And you just ride and you have fun. And some of the world's cares are just gone because you're not even focusing on it, right? So
yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So it gives you that sense of reflection and relaxation, so to speak. So now tell us more, Mans. What is the one myth, something that people think that is not necessarily the case when they think of you as a creative director?
I'd say a myth is that, oh, I can't do it. I'll never get there, like thing. But as you seek progress over perfectness, you're going to be like, oh, wow, like I can get there. And then you see small signs happening. You're like, okay, sale there. Okay, placement there. Okay, just made some sweet art. And then progress, you fall in love with the progress. Perfection will come one day, but more or less it's not about getting to the finish line just in one day kind of thing. And I think some people come into it thinking that more or less they're going to just succeed right off the bat. It takes a lot of just networking, a lot of design, and a lot of patience too. But it's like a kid grows up, right? Like it starts as a baby, your brand, and it grows to a human adult. And I'm in the stage of maybe just like almost a teenager or something to give it to. So like when I think about that, I'm like, yeah, no, progress over perfectness any day.
That's really interesting. I've never heard such an amazing analogy of business and brand. You said that business or your brand is like your baby. I really love that analogy because
I heard it from an interview before. So I was like, what? This makes sense. You got to like care for it, nurture it. And it's not going to just know what you, like it's brand new to the world.
Takes time.
Exactly. And then when it snowballs, it's because it's knows and it's matured.
That's really amazing. And then also you just mentioned here that you prefer progression over perfection. Can you tell us more about that? What does that mean exactly?
To me, that means just the baby steps, whether it's in life or business. You're like, okay, so if I can do this today and be better 1%, it all ends up in 100 days to 100% kind of thing.
Yeah, I believe that too. Actually, so in the book I just authored, I'm not sure if you've read the book or if
I'm going to read it now. I just saw it the other day.
How to Create Like God. And in it, I discuss a bit about the concept of progression versus perfectionism, right? So when you think of the idea of perfect is a standard, perfect is a mark that is set, like this is perfection. So in some sense, perfection is finite. Perfection has a limit. Perfection has a stop. Whereas progression never stops.
Oh, good analogy.
Because progression keeps going, which means in the final analysis, progress beats perfection.
Yeah, it does. I agree with that 1,000%.
Yeah. So that's really amazing to consider that. Okay, so what is the most important lesson you've learned in your creative career? What have you learned? Biggest
Probably
lesson?
Learned never give up. And the reason why is because there's times where it looks like, oh, I don't have a sale coming in as fast as I wanted to. But just like the analogy before, I was saying business is like a baby, but never give up. Just like someone would never give up on their job that they love. And the business is something we should definitely love.
Okay, so never give up.
Yeah. Grind ever eternal, never give up. eternally working, eternally grinding.
Okay. Actually, tell us more about that name, Grind Ever Eternal. How did you come up with the name?
Oh, wow. There's so much reason behind it, but here's a reason or two. One is just like when you skateboard, you grind, you try to stay on balance as long as you can. And hey, if you can grind forever and you have the skill to do it, like I've seen pros do, then do it. But more or less, the main reason that hits my mind right now is that to never cease grinding. And that's a quote of mine that I made, like, always keep working, even when you're in the trenches, even when there's bad things happening, like just keep working and eventually your hard work will pay off. And it's slowly starting to prove that.
Oh, that's good. So grind ever eternal. Keep working. In other words, never give up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Never give up. Keep working at what your craft is. Doesn't got to be art making. Could be more like just something on the lines of just being a good cook, even a doctor, or just whatever your calling is.
That's really good. Now, for every creator I invite on the podcast, I always want to know what are the forces behind them, because I believe we're not only created to create, but we are created to connect.
Yeah.
And we are all products of the associations we've built over time, because we're not independent atoms, right? We are because of other people that have been before us. And so in your case, Manzi, I'm curious, who's behind you? Who's behind the Grind Ever Eternal? Who's your mentor? Who pushed you to where you are?
I got to say, since I skateboard and watch a lot of fashion and interviews and whatnot, one person who's influential, who I just love watching his interviews and him skate, is Stevie Williams, because he owns a huge brand called DGK, and they show some love on one of my pages, and I just love DGK. So watching Stevie Williams interviews, I'm like, wow, like he got out of the ghetto, and like more or less, like if he can do it, other people can do it, but he's the go. And Nigo, who currently owns Human Made and Made Babe, who sold it, and rest in peace to Virgil Abloh. Like these are mentors that like you can just look up to, and like they did it, and sometimes, and more than ever, they encourage others to do it. So I'm like, God showed up to them, you know what I mean? Shout out.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I really believe in mentorship. Mentorship is really important. But I want to hear from your perspective. What do you think is the role of mentorship in business? Do you think we need it?
I say it's like the fuel to a car. And when you put that inspiration, motivation that mentors give, you're like, wow, like I couldn't have done this without them, or like gone as far as like creating, or more or less like being pushed to actually do it. Because no one, it's not like a job. It's more or less like you got to do it yourself. So that's like the fuel. That's like your positive boss. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Okay. So we really need that mentorship in our creativity and business enterprise.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. And just to throw something in here from the book, How to Create Like God, I discuss a chapter called The Principle of Delegation. And in there, I discuss how God is a partnership by definition. And so God does not say, let me create man in my image. But he says, let us create man in our image. So that God speaks to community, not to individual. That God he is surrounded by other persons in the Godhead to create. Amen. And so I always say, if you want to create anything great in this life, it will never be from an individualistic perspective. You cannot create something beyond you just by yourself.
Exactly.
You have to involve other people and say, hey guys, let us create this. And so that's why I believe mentorship comes in, because then you're not alone.
Exactly.
And back to the Genesis principles, there's one principle that I've been pondering these days, and it's the principle where God says, it's not good for man to be alone. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember it slowly, like somewhere I've heard it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I believe that applies to all levels of life. It's not good for you to be alone in business. It's not good for you to be alone in creativity. It's not good for you to be alone anywhere, because we are created to connect.
Amen.
And we only thrive in connections and partnerships and mentorships.
Yeah, no, I see that being purely true, because to get to A to B, you don't have the skill with something in your business, you can reach out to someone, help them, pay them. But then if you're just sitting there like learning yourself, you're wasting time, and God doesn't like wasted time. I don't think it's the idle time kind of thing. So I feel as though that's so agreeable.
Yeah. And Mans, I'm curious to know, what's your productivity hack?
Just watch someone else do something and try and edit it. And I say just pushing yourself, even when you don't feel like doing it, you just do it all the time, because it hacks the feeling of, I can't do it, or this is happening, but you do it anyways. And you're like, wow, in the end, those endorphins are like, I did it. Yes. And even when I didn't want to.
Okay. It's interesting. So for you, the productivity hack is just do it.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Just do it.
Yeah, exactly. Facts off facts.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay. And then, what's one thing about your field of expertise that almost no one agrees with you about?
Good question. I'd say pricing on brands, like on certain brands and clothing, because more or less someone can sell a t-shirt for what, like $40. Someone could sell it for $1,000. Someone could sell for $100. Someone could sell a hat for $50, right? No disrespect to anybody who's ever questioned the prices on my stuff. It's not expensive, but it's not low. And I think that's when you look at self-worth. So when you look at self-worth, right, you can't let anyone out talk you on that. And when you don't, that's the answer to the question too. Yeah,
I did. So pricing. Okay. That's interesting. So actually now I'm more curious.
Yeah.
How do you determine the price of a product? So let's say a t-shirt or a hat. How do you determine the price? How do you get to the price?
Okay. It differs for every brand, but for Grinder Eternal and personal, I'd say like, how much time did I put into this design? How much does it cost to manufacture? How much engagement is it getting? But for other brands, it's more or less just the engagement usually, and then they price it out the roof, but it's still really nice too.
Oh, that's honestly, I'm learning a lot. Here.
Fair.
It's really good. It's
pleasure.
Good so far. Yeah, talking about pricing and how you arrive at price.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to discuss pricing, because I think for most business owners or entrepreneurs who are just starting, or just the creative types, people who do creative work, music, photography, videography, art, I think their biggest struggle is pricing. They don't know how to price their work. And they feel sometimes that if they price, they are being unethical, or they are ripping people off or something like that. And I feel it's really important to teach people how to do pricing, because at the end of the day, pricing is the value of your work.
Exactly.
And if you believe that's the value, then that's the value.
Amen to that.
It doesn't matter who agrees, because as long as you're being honest and say, okay, this is the work I've put in, and you can do the math to arrive at that. But I think even for me, pricing has been a struggle, because I started pricing, let's say, my video editing services for $50. I can edit your video for $50. But how long does it take me to edit a video?
Oh, true.
It takes me roughly, let's say, a dedicated amount of 5 hours, average 5 hours, right? And when I look back, I'm like, no, that's not fair.
It isn't.
That's not fair. And now I'm no longer charging a video for $50. I'm not even talking to you if you give me $50 for a video.
It's fair.
Because there's cost to business, right? And this is value that I'm giving. So if you tell me $150, then yes, we can start having a conversation. So you can see how the pricing changes based on who the person is, the growth you have, and also the journey, where you are in the journey. So pricing is actually a delicate and very complex issue, because there's a person, if a person has more experience, they can charge $1,000 for a single video.
Yeah, exactly.
So pricing only reflects how do I put this? Pricing really reflects the value that you receive from the person. Yeah, and it's not just the product you receive, it's the customer service you receive. It's the it's all the other benefits you receive with the product. So I think it's an interesting conversation that we can have on pricing.
Interesting. I learned something off that. It's like the value too, right? What are you getting from it? Are you like more or less just getting a cardboard box, or are you getting like a piece of gold?
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really powerful.
Mm.
And so I think for this question, I think I know the answer. The question was, did you always want to be a creative director?
No, actually, no. And that's a good question, because I always wanted to be a musician and like a rapper, and I went pretty far in it. Then I was like, I don't know, like this isn't for me. And I made some choices and fell off and lost a lot of friends, but now I'm on the path to what God wants me to do and what my heart's telling me to do, which is make clothing and to design and be creative in a new way.
Yeah. Interesting that you say that. Yeah. Because now the other question I have for you is, you mentioned God. How does God feature into your business?
Good question too. I put music sometimes that's related to him, which is Reach Records recordings. But earnestly, the most powerful way I put the Lord into it is I just pray a lot and read a lot. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not a perfect Christian, but
no one is.
Still believe in God during the journey of everything, life, the brand, and just I know he exists.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. And I think I'm going to gift you the book, How to Create Like God Does. So you can
dude, I'll
read
buy
it.
Unless it's like some $500 value book.
Yeah. In reality, it is.
Oh, good.
If you think of the real value and the impact it's going to have in your business and your brand and your thinking, it's worth more than $500.
I see. Yeah. Just life-changing kind of things, hey?
Life-changing. Yeah. Because it has changed my life. And so I hope it will change your life too. But
amen.
So I was saying in the book, I discuss how God is actually, technically, God is a brand.
That's a good.
Have you ever thought about that?
Put it. Yeah.
God is a brand, and we can learn so much from how he does his business.
I love that, man. Just like a brand that you learn from, the most valuable brand that's free. Yeah, that's crazy cool. That brought me chills, man.
Yeah, I'm glad it did, because it's so I can't imagine how many chills you're gonna have after reading the actual book.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
But yeah, God is a brand, and God is a businessman, if you like. And if we can only copy his way of doing business, then our businesses will be successful. Then our brand will grow. So that's the premise of the book: learning from God how to do business and how to do life. Really.
Okay, that's a good point, and I like where it's going. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in your craft, what tools do you use? You mentioned Adobe Creative Suite and
Adobe Illustrator, using a lot in the past. Inkscape too. A little bit of Photoshop.
Okay.
Now that I think about it, that's pretty much it. And then I just edit it up, do my thing, and get it on some clothing.
How about music production? What do you use?
Music production, Fruity Loops. So more or less, I use the mobile one, and I have been using the big one in the past. But since I've been doing clothing more, I don't really use the actual Fruity Loops programs as much, like the main one.
And which tool is your favorite?
Oh, Adobe Illustrator, on God, man. Because like, think about it, like I learned it myself a little bit, learned off people a little bit. And then I went to school. Didn't even listen. Yeah, I went to college for a little bit, but then things happened and I'm just doing my thing in other ways. Yeah, no, Adobe Illustrator, because I got like straight A's and I didn't even listen to it in college. Not
straight A's.
This is a true story, right? Like he would be talking or whatever. I'm like, oh, I know that. And I didn't even mean it in a cocky way. And then I go back and
You're just
it,
saying,
right?
I should know that.
Because I did it before.
What's funny, Adobe Illustrator is the tool that I'm least competent in. I have no idea how it works.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you could teach me how to use it.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, man, we just got to kick it too. And I'll just be teaching you as a friend.
Have you considered creating a course to teach people a skill that you have?
Yeah, no, for Adobe Illustrator in general, that'd be neat because I'm just a bit over intermediate. I wouldn't say I'm like super pro at it, but I've gotten to the stage where like I'm super comfortable. If someone tells me to do something, I can do it. Or if I want to make a design. So It's a good idea. I've never thought about it.
Yeah, you should, because the best way to learn is to teach.
That has some point to it. Yeah.
Yeah, in my experience, I've found that it's when I've said I'm going to teach something that I actually became a pro at it.
Okay. You see what you're doing kind of thing is what I'm getting from.
Yeah, you see what you're doing. You answer all the questions that the student will ask you.
I see. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Just like you teach in real life, you know what to do.
Yeah. Okay. If you could start a business tomorrow, what would that business be?
If I could start a business tomorrow, does it have to not be clothing?
Yeah, something different.
Of course. Yeah. I don't know.
Something different from what you have now.
Okay. If I were to start a different business, what would it be? It's a really good question. I'd say there really is nothing, because like I'm so dedicated, and I'm not even playing. I'm so dedicated on like growing my own that I've started already since 2022. But yeah, I'm just being real.
Okay, that's good. And what occupation other than what you have right now could you try?
Oh, probably like just work for someone else for designs they have, a job in that. But I've been working on my sister's boyfriend's clothing line to come soon. So it's like a taste of that halfway. But you work in like a huge studio with just people on a vision. Doesn't even have to be about Grand Everton. That'd be a dream too. Okay. Help someone. Yeah. Good to know.
What 3 books would you recommend to my audience and why?
Oh yeah. 3 books. I would say 1, Steps to Christ, just because that leads you to the Lord in a beginner's way, and you just progress on through that. Desire Ages, because it gives you like so much new idea, man. Like even though it's a bunch of stories, just can this story be me? And then you go pray about, yo man, I got this. And here's a secular book that's pretty worldwide known, and you can incorporate it with other books in a Christian mindset. And Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, because it has some diamonds in there for sure.
Oh yeah. Wow, those are great books, actually. Wow.
Yeah, no,
what a combination.
Yeah, for real.
Okay. And what's one question you wish I'd asked you, and how would you have answered?
There's not really one question. Like, you are good at what you do. And I think we've hit a lot of subjects, and there's not really a question. I think it's for real. So not trying to sway the question.
Okay. All right. That's good. So now tell us, where can people find you online? You have the website, Instagram,
so
stuff like that.
Yeah. So the website's being made right now, and that's in the midst. And pretty much Instagram for now until the website's up. And then there, in the link on Instagram, there'll be some merch you can look at if you want to buy.
I want to get the Grind Ever Eternal hat.
Oh,
and whatever other merch that you guys have. So
appreciate it.
I'll be happy to purchase some. Okay, now as we close, I'm curious to know, what are your future plans as it relates to your business and brand?
Yeah, so
what's
future
your vision?
Plans. One day, for now, just keep it online. One day, open a store. One day.
Physical location?
Yeah, physical location, more than likely somewhere in BC. And mainly just to grow, let the world know what I have to offer and the designs that are made in a different way each time. So main goal is to grow, not too focused on money, but it comes when it comes, and made some sale. But growth.
Okay, this has been good. Is there any final thoughts you have to share with the audience as it relates to business, brand, and entrepreneurship?
Just to share my tag on Instagram, and it's at Grind Ever Eternal on Instagram.
Grind Ever Eternal. I love the name. I love the brand. And I can't wait to see what the brand becomes as it grows. And I'm here to support in whatever way I can. For those who are watching or listening, this was Mans, the creative director of Grind Ever Eternal. He is a producer. He is a musician. He is all that and more. And it's been a pleasure to have a chat with you, Mans, and to just get to know you a little bit more and share with the world what you're doing, and perhaps get people to actually support what you do and partner with you perhaps, because like I said, we're not just created to create, but we are created to connect. So thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to another podcast episode with you. Maybe I'll come over to Nanaimo and record a podcast with you there.
Oh, please do, man. I just love talking on here, and more or less, growth will surely come, and we'll work together and collab in another way sometime soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. And for the audience, remember, keep on creating. We're all created to create, and that's a craft that God has given you. And so maybe here's the question as we end this podcast episode. What has God created you to create? Think about that and see you in the next episode.